One of my biggest pieces of advice for incoming freshmen would be to get involved with all sorts of activities in the fall. People kind of hibernate in the winter, so making your friends in the fall before everyone goes into hibernation, gets very busy with classes, is my biggest piece of advice. I think my first year, I had a harder time at UAF because I hadn't made friends in the fall. And the second year was kind of a breeze because I had really made myself more involved in activities in the fall and had gotten outside with friends and had a community in the wintertime. And I think when January and February hit, having a really solid community is a very important thing to have. I ended up picking AC&S as a major, Arctic and Northern Studies, because there are a lot of things that I'm interested in that are just not covered in any other major. And the professors are very down to earth. They really embrace the fact that I'm a dog musher and they let me include it in projects. I got to explore some really strange niche legal interests and go down conspiracy rabbit holes about wind farms and Sami rights in Norway and Sweden. And I think that there's a lot of things like that that just don't fit in any other major on campus. I have a lot of interests from my time at UAF that would be really nice to pursue. One of them is I spent some time doing legal work for the women's shelter here in town. And I'm still interested in maybe pursuing that in the future. But for now, I'm starting as an environmental consultant here in town this summer. So I'll be doing a lot of soil sampling and a lot of field work, which I'm really excited about. And I get to combine my background guiding and being outside with also something that requires a university degree, which is really exciting. I think someone who was super impactful to me in my time at UAF was my first ever math teacher here at UAF. I've historically hated math. It's not been my jam. And a lot of that I think I have recognized is because of who my teachers were in late high school. They made a lot of comments that were related to my physical appearance and to my level of intellect as a result of that. A lot of dumb jock comments, and one that I remember in particular sticking out was, "Oh, Mallory, did you hit your head on the side of the pool again?" In response to asking questions in class or trying to get clarification when I was confused. So I just kind of gave up and didn't really work very hard in math class anymore. And I just kind of barely scraped by and focused on dog racing and my other interests. And so when I entered UAF, I had to go to developmental math, which kind of I already felt not competent in math. And I was kind of expecting to be in a class full of a bunch of people who were all dumb at math like me. And instead I had this brilliant teacher, Jack Meyer, who was sassy and spunky and encouraged me to ask questions, shut down another student when he was kind of being rude and disruptive in class. And overall was just very, very supportive and helped me gain the confidence I needed to take science classes, to take natural resource management classes. And I think without that teacher early on at UAF, I don't think I would have ever thought to apply for the job that I applied for now that I'm graduating, because in order to get the job, I had to interview at the engineering career fair because half the company is engineering and surveying. And that is a space that I would have felt extremely uncomfortable in because it's very male dominated, and it's also full of a lot of people that I would have perceived many years ago to be much smarter than me. So I never would have had the confidence as a liberal arts major to walk into the engineering career fair and be like, yes, I'm here for my job interview. So I have to thank Jack for that. I did receive the Wright Scholarship through the Arctic and Northern Studies program, and I also received a scholarship from the honors program. I may have received another one very early on. I can't remember precisely what it was. I think it was through the education program when I was briefly in the education program. I think overall, the best way that impacted my life is just that I was able to work a little bit less particularly this past fall, because the scholarship award was fairly substantial. And I was able to devote a little more time to my studies, especially since I had all upper division classes. And so that was really important, just to be able to have a little bit of extra support and not be trying to burn the candle at both ends. And so I have to thank the Wright family for that, and also the honors program and Dr. Hirsch, because I know he picks out who gets those awards. There are a lot of projects and things that I've done at UAF that have been really, really fun. I think some of the major things have been springboarding into various different jobs based on classes that I would take. One of them that I thought was just truly wonderful and really kind of altered the course of my life, and as far as my confidence to apply for things that maybe didn't make sense for me to apply for based on experience level, was I took a beginning rock climbing class here at UAF, got really into outdoor rock climbing and rappelling specifically, and I wound up applying for an outdoor waterfall rappelling guiding job in Maui that summer. And the first summer after my freshman year, I got to work in Maui, and that was my first summer really officially renting and living away from my parents. So I don't really do anything halfway. I'd lived away from home before, but had never been in a situation where I also had to pay rent. So that was just totally crazy. I got to pay rent in another state. I got to do this crazy job, and I got to experience a different state. And then I just got to feel a greater sense of connection with Alaska when I came back, because even though it was an amazing place, Alaska's still really, really cool. And I think that really just cemented that I'm an Alaskan. I just don't mind surfing. One thing that was a challenge for me was just getting off the ground and getting to know people. I think once I got to know one or two people, all of a sudden I knew 20 people. And I think that's the biggest message, is to not give up. There may be some groups or some communities that you just don't fully gel with, and that's totally cool. There's a lot of other communities and different interest groups on campus. I think aside from clubs and whatnot, which I know a lot of people don't have time for, or they aren't really club people. I'm not personally a club person. I'm more of a social person. I would say OA has some really great trips if you're interested in that. And if you're a new student and you want to get some Alaska know-how, learn about some leave no trace principles, and just kind of get some practical knowledge, there's a beginning wilderness leadership class that would be awesome to take. I took it. It was a great time. It was really fun. I met a lot of cool people through that class. And then also beginning rock climbing. The teachers are really laid back. They're really fun. And you tend to meet people with similar interests and interests in being outdoors outside of just rock climbing as well in that class, especially since it's beginning. Usually they're joining that class because they have other interests that might be similar to yours if you're into hiking and camping, and climbing, maybe some skiing. Take advantage of the ski land pass if it still exists for years. Free skiing. Something interesting about me that most people don't know is that I am not from Fairbanks. Contrary to popular belief, I'm actually from Nome, Alaska. So I'm from a smaller rural community. I grew up about 15 miles outside of that community in a teeny place called Bannock Creek, which is a community of about 30 people. So I had to become socialized late middle school, early high school. I think we're doing okay. We're giving it our best shot. I think what it takes to be an outstanding student is not being afraid to explore what you're interested in and not exploring just what you think that you should be interested in. And I think it took me a little while to figure that out. And once I did figure that out, being in college became a lot more interesting. I think my first couple years where I was just really trying to put myself in this box of this achieving student who just picked all these kind of not necessarily cookie cutter topics, but topics that I wasn't as interested in. I think it was a lot more boring. And I think that you can have a really interesting time working on all the things that you have to do to get through college, like assignments and projects, if you're not afraid to kind of choose topics that are maybe a little bit different, maybe there's a little less research on them, but it's a topic you're really interested in, and that I think makes a huge difference. I think it makes you a good student, but it also makes you have a way better time in college. So I would recommend.